What is going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegges back with you on a Thursday. We're talking a lot of stuff tonight. We mentioned last night that the drought monitor comes out every single Thursday through the year, and we were obviously hitting it hard in the spring because a lot of Florida got ourselves into a pretty nasty drought that has finally eroded across all of Central Florida. But now it's back again, as certainly through the Panhandle, and then also parts of Central Florida. We are starting to creep back in to that very dry, that abnormally dry category. So that level like 1 out of 5, period, 1 out of 5 category when it comes to the drought situation. So we're going to break that down. And of course, we are going to be talking a lot about the tropics. It's nothing to be concerned with at this time. We are just watching, but anytime we get a wave into the Caribbean, we always have to watch it. It looks like that's what's going to happen over the next 7 to 10 days. So the antenna is up. We're going to break all that down earlier this morning. The Hurricane Center officially highlighted it as a wave to watch. At 8 o'clock tonight, they highlighted another wave. So this is going to give me the opportunity to go on my soapbox again, is to, if you see other people naming a storm before the Hurricane Center does, back off of it, because we might have the M storm, Melissa, stolen by something in the North Atlantic. So here's what we're talking about again: drought expanding through Central Florida, and then the eventual Caribbean wave officially highlighted with that secondary thing. So we're going to talk about the drought first. It's going to be short and sweet. And then we're going to get into the tropic side, because I want to spend a lot of time on that as we get into the weekend of the things that I'm watching, and that if you like to watch the models and all that stuff, that you should be watching as well. So here's the latest drought monitor. It's getting ugly in Tallahassee and parts of the Panhandle, severe to an extreme drought expanding. And then on the I-75 corridor from Ocala into Sumter County through Marion County, we are now considered to be abnormally dry. So that level 1 out of 5 on the drought monitor scale. Closer look into Central Florida shows that yellow color. Again, pretty much from Astor to the west, we're in that abnormally dry category. It has been extremely dry, and I just don't see much rain coming. There's going to be a few maybe showers or sprinkles working their way through over the next couple of days, but it's not going to be anything to really help us get back in the green, so to speak, and get back to be average or even above average. High temperatures tomorrow, guys, in the mid-80s in Orlando, Jacksonville, where it's 78. I think we're mainly dry, just a couple of clouds closer to the coast, and then those heating of the day clouds bubbling back up. We're back to the low 80s in Pensacola. We're at 84 in Tallahassee, 86 in Naples. We are at 84 degrees in Miami. So a nice, comfortable day once again. We could use some of the rain along I-75. Different story along I-95. It's really been a tale of two halves of the state as we continue to forecast, and as we talked about when we had all that heavy rain sliding through parts of East Central Florida. Sharon B. Sweet, I love the name. I believe it. Water every day for sure. It has been very crunchy. It's been dry over there. No doubt about it. All right, so that's what I had this short and sweet. Typically, I do spend a lot more time on the Florida forecast for sure. Obviously, we're based out of Central Florida. If you are just joining us for the first time, so we like to talk about the entirety of the state. When we're on here just having the weather conversation, here is the wave right smack dab in the middle of that circle. This is the wave that we need to be watching closely. It's kind of all strung out. It's embedded in a broad area of disturbed weather. It's stuck in what we call the intertropical convergence zone right now, where the trade winds coming together, the northeast winds north of the disturbance, the southeast winds south of it. And while it's kind of locked in there like that, it's not going to develop. Oh, nice. Inverness. That's awesome. Shout out to Inverness. Great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah, we talk about you guys all the time on the stream. So thanks for joining tonight. So that is the wave in question. Again, it's nothing to panic about because there are so many outcomes when it comes to this thing. that it's just impossible to know because we always talk about it, the butterfly effect. And actually, I need to update that. It's now up to 10% over 2 days and then 30% over 7 days. So the development zone expanded. The Hurricane Center did pull part of it out of the Caribbean now to allow for potential development before the Leeward Islands and Windward Islands. I don't know about that. I personally think it's going to struggle. Um, until it gets into until it gets into the Central Caribbean. We're gonna get into some of the scenarios again. And when I say scenarios, it's not like I have no exacts. As much as I would love to be able to tell you where this is going and how strong it's going to be, we just don't have that information. Once it gets closer to land, hurricane hunters are going to start flying. We're going to know a lot more about what's actually going to steer this thing and how strong it could get. So there's going to be a lot of time to watch. Here's the timeline, though. I mean, where we're looking at this kind of ball of color, these are the European ensembles. So these ensembles, there's 51 members of the European ensemble. It's just like a band, how you have the strings, you have the clarinets, you have different members making up the entire ensemble. What's in an ensemble? They have different initial conditions put in. Okay, maybe high pressure stronger over here. Okay, maybe the storm is a little faster. Maybe the storm is a little slower. When you have a consensus with different initial conditions kind of tweaking the model, it gives you more confidence that an event can occur. So you see it right there, that kind of peach color. We're about a 60% chance for at least a tropical depression to develop somewhere in the central or western Caribbean. Okay, so 60%, give or take, of the European ensembles online for some kind of development. Some of them strong, some of them weak, and that's going to determine where this thing is going to go over the next 7 to 10 days. And again, this is 9 days away. So this is 9 days away from this area. So that just gives it's going to be an agonizing wait, like that we're still talking about this on October 25th. We should have a much better idea by that point, by the middle to latter stages of next week, on where it goes, if it goes west, if it goes north, and all that stuff. And I mean, great point. And that's the thing, and that's where the human forecaster comes in. Models are a great tool. They are guidance, not gospel, as we always say. And they 1,000,000% do get better once we get the recon data, not only in the storm, but around the storm. I showed this before weeks ago when we were tracking the uncertainty of Umberto and Imelda and the dance they were going to do. Once Gonzo got up, the NOAA G4 jet, the Gulfstream jet, it did a loop-de-loop, like from Lakeland, where they take off, all the way around Umberto and then back around Imelda. And then all of a sudden, okay, we had much better guidance as to what was going to happen with Imelda, that it was going to stay off the shore. So critically important, all of that data from the Hurricane Center. And this is the greatest thing here. Be prepared anyways. It's always good. It's great to have an influx of batteries and water and all that stuff, and just so you never have to rush out and get everything, and you have it even if you don't need it. That's what I've got a ton of batteries at home and all that stuff. So it's always good to have. We get our afternoon storms that can knock out power for, hours upon end. So all that stuff. Okay, I have to get my first break in, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the 3 things that I'm watching, and that is going to determine over the next couple of days where this system goes, and I'll show you how that relates to some of the modeling. If you like to look at the models, this will give you something to look at through the weekend and what you need to know. So stick around for that. I'll see you guys in about 3 minutes. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to New 6 Weather Live at 9:30. We talked about this a little bit before, but I want to get into this before we get into the real nitty-gritty about the modeling and everything like that. The secondary wave that the Hurricane Center highlighted, and I mentioned off the top, it's always important if you see a storm being named by non-credible folk or credible folk. Sometimes credible folk do name it, meteorologists before the Hurricane Center. A lot of times, sometimes you get burned. And this little thing up here, south of Nova Scotia, this cloud mass, well, it has the opportunity to steal a name. So everyone's calling it Melissa, the Caribbean thing, and it certainly still could be. However, this popped up tonight because this disturbance, this little swirl, is going to roll over the very warm waters of the Gulf Stream that roll through the North Atlantic. And as it does so, some models actually develop a warm core, some thunderstorms around its center, and this could steal a name. This would happen likely prior to that. If it's going to organize enough, it would do so before this one down here. So that's going to hurt nothing. It's just going to meander up there, but it could become a subtropical or tropical storm. Okay, before we get into the models, I want to show you this. This is kind of what we're going to be watching over the next couple of days. And let me zero in on the camera here. And there are kind of three camps. And if you do like to track these storms with models and things like that, this is why they're doing what they're doing. So scenario one, okay, it's strong when it enters the Caribbean. It's organized, a tropical storm, maybe a tropical depression. It's organized when it enters the Caribbean. It's going to feel that big blue dip. You see those arrows at the top of the screen there? It's going to feel that, and it's going to want to get lifted towards Hispaniola, maybe Puerto Rico, maybe the Virgin Islands. That's scenario one. If it's strong coming in, I don't think that's going to be the scenario. I think it's going to stay weak into the Caribbean. If it does get strong, though, track one is an option. Track two is what none of us want. Because if it takes its time a little bit to consolidate, then it's going to kind of miss the ride out because it's going to be weaker for longer. Stronger storms feel the upper level steering. So that's why if it's stronger earlier, it's going to feel that trough and get pulled out. So track number two, it takes a little while longer to get consolidated, maybe south of Haiti toward Jamaica. And that is going to act to lift it because these things naturally want to go north. It just depends upon where it gets its act together. So it could be as early as Jamaica, maybe Cuba, maybe the Bahamas, maybe as late as the Yucatan, and then into the Eastern Gulf. So there's still kind of a goalpost on track number two, but it would have the tendency to lift north closer to land, okay? So that's why we don't want number two, because you see what's right smack in the middle of that scenario. We don't want that. Or there's just a whole hodgepodge of thunderstorms down there. It never really consolidates, and it stays weak and then gets trapped under that area of high pressure you see spinning by the Yucatan into the Western Gulf and then slides on over. Griffin, I guess that is, I think, one model. I think that's kind of a weird thing, but that is a very subtle thing that models would not be able to really dissect very well. Because it's so far out. And again, this whole thing comes into play in 7 to 9 days. So little ripples or little kinks in the jet stream or in the steering pattern are just going to be hard to figure out in timeout at this stage in the game. So we can't think about on that smaller scale yet, but it does appear like we're going to have a ridge in the central and western part of the Gulf, and then that trough through the northeast. And it's that trough that's going to want to pull it up. In between, there's going to be a weakness in all that. It's going to depend upon the speed. So if it is slower, that trough that you see there in the northeast is going to be far enough away, but it's going to be kind of like a dog in its leash or an owner in the dog, an owner walking the dog. So that trough is going to want to tug it. You see where the high pressure is kind of spinning, where there's the orange color, and then I have those arrows and the blue shaded color. That opening is where it's gonna wanna go. It's kinda like lightning. They're lazy. They want the path of least resistance. They're gonna go to where the steering flow is. So whenever there's an opening there, those storms typically take it. Now, some of the other questions are, okay, how strong is that ridge of high pressure in the Western Gulf? Because it could also push it down a little bit. It could meander. And if you watch the models, the Euro AI model does some weird stuff with it because it doesn't allow it to come north because the ridge is a little stronger in the Gulf Coast of Florida. And then it comes up, but then it comes up further to the east. So there's a lot to iron out here, but with the wave itself, if it's stronger earlier, it's going to have the tendency to go north and stay east of the Bahamas. If it stays disorganized, if it stays unorganized a little bit longer, like towards Haiti, Jamaica, and then gets real strong real fast. Again, track number two, that would realize the high end potential of this event. If it stays like times at Goldilocks scenario, not too strong, not too weak, but just right at the point where that number two is, at that point where number two is kind of going to allow it to work its way up a little bit and to get stronger. So we just don't want number two. But there's a lot to iron out. All right, I have to get my other break in. Coming back, we'll look at quickly at some of the ensembles, and then I have to go get ready for the 10 o'clock news. Thank you guys a ton for being here. I'll catch you in 3 minutes. Alrighty, guys. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff about Charlie. No, you're 100% right. Mimi Love, good law for sure. No, you're 100% right. It's coming up. It's the dip in the jet stream at the surface. It's a cold front, so that's what the deal is there, and that's what exactly steered Charlie. Charlie had the abrupt right turn because it was such a tiny storm. It could really be bullied by the upper level flow to a certain degree. Ian was too, but it was certainly not as abrupt in the Southwest Florida as Charlie was. So that's why. But no, you're 100% right. If the dip in the jet stream or the front was back off towards the north and west, that would just lift kind of due north, kind of like what Michael did, or Matthew, depending upon where it was at the time of the steering. Or if there's a front coming in, like what we have a lot of times this year, and why we see the October storms like Wilma normally go over. And again, there's a difference between Wilma and Michael, both of them October storms, but one went to Southwest, and all the stuff. It is way too early to tell. Way too early to tell. It's just something to watch right now. Florida is certainly in play. It's not a 0% chance at this stage in the game. But there's way too many outcomes to know for sure. So it's just kind of a wait and see. And again, we're going to be watching this for 7 to 10 days. It's going to be a slow, agonizing process. It could get stuck down there a little bit too and just meander. And that's going to be really frustrating and really annoying to try to figure out where it's going to go. But it's just, I hate these slow evolving ones. I hate them all when they're going to be impacting land. But I just wish that it was, wish that we were a month from now and we were going. But I do think that this is kind of the last push here. And it's unfortunate that it's something that we have to watch for a lot of landmass involved, because we never like them when they get into the Caribbean, because once it's in, it's got to hit something. We just hope that it stays weak. And as our friend from Houston pointed out, the ocean heat content, which is what we're looking at now, is almost off the charts. And that's what we don't want. The upper levels of the atmosphere is also going to be pristine. So we need to keep this one on the weak side. Certainly could be headed to Central America for sure. This is what I kind of based, again, this is why the ensembles are saying what they say. They're kind of all over the place. The further to the weaker they are, the further west they go. If it's the Goldilocks scenario where it comes in as something but not that organized and then waits until Jamaica to get organized, then it's going to lift. You see some of those lines going north towards Cuba. If it's strong early, we get that quick hook out of here between Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. So there's a lot to iron out. And by the way, that is through October 27th. So there's a lot of time to watch this. And just hoping it fizzles out. That's all. Alrighty, guys, I have to go get ready for the news tonight. Hope everybody is doing well this evening. Again, it's just something to watch. Nothing. Please don't freak out over this. Please don't let anybody else freak you out over this. There's a lot of garbage online. If you see, I'll leave you with this. If you see model runs that have a strong hurricane into a specific location this far out, it's trash. I'm not saying that a strong hurricane is not possible, because it certainly is if it gets into the Western Caribbean. We just don't know where, and we don't know what it's going to look like, and probably won't for the next 4 or 5 days at least. But it's something we're just watching. We're just watching and hoping for the best. Alrighty, guys, thank you a ton for being here again. Really appreciate it. If you found this live stream helpful, we're here every night, Monday through Friday, 9:30. Consider coming back. And if you do, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, we're on News 6 Plus all the time as well. I will see you guys later. Be safe.